If you're deciding on what to use for your camping trips, I would definitely recommend a tent to start off with, but it does depend on the terrain you're staying on overnight. Tent is definitely the most secure and safest in my opinion. You'll keep dry and you'll keep sheltered from the wind. I am yet to try out a bivy bag, which I'm also really keen for. When looking at buying new equipment like a tent, it's always good to look up reviews on the product. I have made this mistake in the past and ended up paying for it. I wouldn't say you need to spend a crazy amount of money on good gear to start off with, but if you do go really cheap, you'll be wasting your money and you'll be let down when you get around to setting up and using it in the field. You'll also be upgrading your gear in no time.
Okay, so this is my pack, which I'm going to be taking out on my hike today. I'm just going to show you the main bits I have and take on my normal hikes with me. So these are my divider bags. I put most things in dry bags just in case. You never really know what weather you're going to get or if you're going to have to do some water crossings or something. So in this dry bag I have my bivvy, sleeping bag and sleeping mattress all wrapped up into my bivvy, so when I get there I just have to pull it out and it's pretty much ready to go. I don't really have to sort a lot out. It's all inside itself, so that one's pretty easy. That's probably my biggest piece, my biggest bag, which I take with me. And then in the red dry bag I have my dry clothes, so I've got the dry set of clothes for night time, a spare set of undies and a couple pairs of socks. That's pretty much it. I think I've got like a fleece in here as well. It's going to get pretty cold tonight, so I'll be needing that. This is my food bag. Still got a little bit more to go in there. Got some fresh bolognese pasta I made up yesterday, so I'll have to put that in there. It's in the fridge at the moment. Like before cooking, I have my stove, pretty compact, lightweight. Everything's inside it. Gas and stove there. My tarp, which is going to be my shelter this weekend. Cordage, a couple of spare pegs. I've got my gaiters, which come in handy today because it's pretty wet. And it's going to be pretty bushy up there. That's just my cup, spoon and little plastic bowl. Got my water bladder, which will go in the pocket of my bag as well. My little first aid kit in here. Beanies. Talcum powder for my feet to keep my feet dry so I don't get any blisters. Some gloves. My little zip bag of toilet roll and baby wipes. I've got these little side pockets with a little snack bag in. It's important to snack on the way, you don't have to stop so much. I've got a bunch of fruit in here as well. And I have a stainless steel water bottle, so if I need to I can heat that water up in the bottle and like put it in my sleeping bag with me if it gets a bit chilly. My food bag I have nuts, sweets and fruit for snacking, tea bags, coffee, powdered milk, instant pumpkin and potatoes, just powdered, nice and lightweight, some chicken noodle soup, instant noodles, cup of soup, porridge for breakfast, chocolate for good measure, and a tin of tuna. And then I've got some salami and some bolognese for dinner. It's going to be pretty tasty after hiking all day. I would normally try and keep my food pretty lightweight and not take fresh food like that, but it's only an overnight hike. If I was doing a multi-day hike, I'd probably try and probably try and make my pack a bit lighter. But I'm not going to stress about it too much today. I am quite specific with the way I pack my bag, just because it's nice to be able to access things throughout the day without pulling everything out. Right, let's try again. Sleeping system. Dry clothes. Top. Food bag. Okay, very much like that. Stove.
Alright, I'm gonna run through in my pack list how I pack, all the gear that I normally use when I go on a canoe camping trip. It's a little bit different than a backpacking trip. Sometimes bring a little bit extra stuff. I got some different packs that are waterproof, so set up a little bit different, but still pretty much the same as how I normally do, whether I'm backpacking or if I'm canoe camping. So for starters, this is my main pack. It's a Seal line, 115 liter. It's way bigger than I actually need, but I use it, when I go with groups as well, so I can carry, 2 or 3 people's stuff in here pretty easily with no problems, and keeps everything dry. So, and then as a secondary pack, kind of just to have on me with easy access in the canoe. Again, another Seal line. This is a 35 liter. Got little clips on here for water bottles and stuff like that, but this is where I keep all my camera gear, snacks, rain jacket, things like that, stuff I need quick access to. So I carry this one right next to me in the canoe. This is kind of my emergency kit /, utility kit. I keep everything in a dry bag, by the way, just as an extra for organizational purposes, as well as, to keep everything dry, obviously. Saw. This is it's a Gomboy Silky, super sharp, really good saw if you're looking for something. I always bring gloves for processing wood and things like that. Extra lighters, some fire starters if needed. Bear spray. And I have a little emergency kit. I got like some duct tape, lots of Band-Aids, extra batteries for my headlamp, extra lighter, just some Neosporin, different things like that. So first aid kit. So this is everything that I keep in this bag. Kind of all of my electronics and camping gear. So GoPro, this is really my go-to on these canoe camping trips just because it's waterproof. I can keep it in the boat, rain, water, anything that comes at it, I don't have to worry about it, and it takes really good video. So it's not quite as good as the camera that I'm filming on right now, my Sony a6600, but it's a pretty good option for what it can do and its durability. You don't got to worry about breaking it or messing it up. So I love this camera. Kind of a must-have for kind of stuff I like to do as far as documenting. Just a zoom lens. If I do see some wildlife that I can't get close enough to, I keep this zoom lens with me and hopefully have enough time to change it out if I do. I keep all of my camera gear, like the gear that I'm shooting on right now, I keep it in here so it's padded and safe, and then this all goes in a dry bag inside the black seal line bag. So I've got it almost double sealed for waterproofness. And then I also have an extra bag, kind of some miscellaneous stuff, my Garmin inReach, headlamp, and then I have a couple battery packs. So that's kind of all the things that I keep in my seal line bag, along with some snacks and things like that. So I just keep rain pants, rain jacket in here. Again, this goes in my handy bag. So extra bag of clothes, again, in a waterproof bag. This has like a puffer jacket, extra underwear, socks, stocking cap, long underwear. So if I do get wet or it does get cold, I've got a lot of extra stuff that I can put on to and hop in my sleeping bag and stay warm if I get in a pinch. So that's where I keep that. Food bag. So I use, again, a waterproof bag. I use this and a rope, and I hang it from a tree when I go canoe camping. I'm going to be eating fish if all goes well. I'm going to plan on cooking up fish, but just for example, on a general backpacking meal or just a simple meal, I would do like a dehydrated mountain house type meal. Usually if I'm going to go on a long trip, if it's just an overnighter, this is great. If I'm going to go on a long trip, I'll buy their number 10 cans and break them up into freezer bags, so you can make like 5 meals out of 1 can, and it'll save you a little bit of money instead of buying them prepackaged like this. But these are super handy, and if you're just going out for an overnight and you don't want to worry about food too much and cooking, all you do is boil water and pour it in there and you got a meal. Gotta have a spoon, long spoons, highly recommended. How I handle all my snacks, food, breakfast, this is breakfast and lunch and snacks right here. I make one of these for every day that I'm going to be out. So I've got, I don't know how well you can see it, but I've got almonds in there, beef jerky, Snickers bar, and breakfast bar. My cooking setup, so first things first, this is my drinking setup. So it's just 32 ounce squeezable bottle, bee-free filter. So just put dirty water in here out of the lake, fill it in, and spray. You got water. You can drink out of this, or fill up containers. So I'll bring this. I'll also bring this for coffee and other drinks. So I have that separate. And this is my little cook pot, which it's titanium cook pot. I mean, this whole cook system weighs almost nothing. Lid. Gas fuel. This is just something to dry everything and clean it. What's nice about this system is when you're doing dehydrated food, all you got to do is boil water in here, so you never make a mess. So incredibly simple and easy. And then I just have a lighter and tiny little stove that goes on top of here. So sleep system. This is everything that I bring for sleeping. Again, on a canoe camp trip, since I have I have more space and I'm not, carrying everything on my back the whole time. This is just a simple foam pad. I use this for a lot of different purposes. I found this very handy, but I use it as a frame for my larger seal line pack. I also use it for a frame on my backpacking pack. But it's just great because you can use it as extra padding for sleeping. You can use it to sit on while you're by the fire, or you can, you can just use it to kind of lay out on if you want to lay outside or anything. So I found that this is a simple and really handy tool to bring with you. So the rest of my sleep system, I keep it all together. Anyway, I have an inflatable climate pad, and this is a warm weather pad. So I have a cool weather pad too, same exact thing. It just has a lower R value. This one's nice for winter camping. 30 degree Econ Burrow quilt. Love this quilt. Packs down to next to nothing. Down quilt, and keep it in a dry bag always, because down takes a while to dry, but it's really light and really fluffy. And I just have a inflatable pillow that I'll use. So as far as what I wear, I put it all on just so you could see what I'd be wearing. Always got a hat on. Always thinking about sun protection as well as bug protection, so I'll bring this buff with me. And this gives me the opportunity to cover up my entire face, so I can literally, if I'm getting just attacked by bugs, or if the sun's just really intense when I'm on the water, I can get completely covered up. And in addition to that, I have some sun gloves that I always have on as well on these trips, at least on the canoe trips. Protects my hands a little bit from blisters and fish and things like that when I'm grabbing them, but it also gives me some good sun protection. So I'm basically completely covered up outside of the tips of my fingers. So I love this setup, and it also protects from bugs, which can be very important. So that's what I do. The shirt that I'm wearing is just a sun shirt. It's got SPF and it's really lightweight, so even on a hot day you don't feel like you are having a lot of clothes on. It actually keeps you cool, so, and it dries fast as well. And then I just have like some stretchy, I don't know if you can see them, but just like some stretchy cargo pants. They're really comfortable, dry fast, and it's a setup that works for me, and it's the same setup I use like when I'm hiking in the mountains as I do when I go canoe camping. So obviously different shoes and things like that, but besides that, that's pretty much my go-to setup.
Morning everyone. Just wanted to show you what sort of equipment and gear I'm taking with me this weekend. First thing I'm taking with is my Roycroft backpack frame, which I made myself. Great for carrying my gear, and later on I can use this for carrying firewood as well. Next thing is my water bottle. I like to use an ostrich egg as a water bottle, nice and traditional. Other containers that I'm taking is my billy pot. Together with that, my stainless steel spork. For cutting tools, I've got my traditional puka. On the back of that, I've got taped a sail needle, which I can use to repair clothing or pulling splinters out of my skin. So it forms part of my first aid kit as well. Next, I've got my multi-tool, extra blade, got a nice saw on it. It's also got a toothpick. You'd be surprised how often you need that. And tweezers, also part of my first aid kit. For fire, I've got multiple items. I've got my ferro rod. I've got my traditional flint and steel. A Now together with flint and steel, you're going to need char cloth. So in this tin, I've got my char cloth, got a little bit of tin foil, and when there's sunshine, I've got a magnifying glass as well. My main go-to though is a good old big lighter. For shelter, I've got my military tarp, got my tent pegs, I've got some cordage to make up a ridge line. I've got my red bag, which is an emergency sleeping bivvy. Together with that is the sleeping bag that everything's laid out on the table with at the moment. To sleep on, I use a car windscreen reflective. Nice and cheap, so if I tear it up, it's not going to cost me much to replace. Gives me a bit of padding from the ground, insulates me from the ground so that the ground doesn't suck up all of my body heat. And what body heat I do have, it reflects back up into the shelter. Also got some spare clothes. I've got my hoodie, some spare socks, a couple of pillowcases. These are great for organizing your gear, and at night time you can take whatever spare clothes you've got, shove it into the pillowcase, and you've got a pillow. Underneath there, I've got my shamag, 101 uses. If you're wetted, it can keep you cool on hot days. Cold days, you can wrap it around your head to keep you a little bit warmer. To drink out of, I've got my little cookser. No, I did not make it. This is a commercial one, but one of my favorite items. Next, I've got some duct tape, also good for repairing equipment and also first aid. I've got a basic no-name brand headlamp torch with different settings, including strobe in the event of an emergency, and it also gives me a tail light. I've got various types of cordage, including some paracord, some traditional jute twine, pretty strong stuff. It's biodegradable, so if I do leave it out in the bush, it's just going to break apart. And if you split it apart, it's great for starting fires as well. For navigation, I've got my little compass, also a no-name brand compass from a local camping store. Together on that is an emergency whistle. So if I do need to be rescued, I can blow on this. The sound from a whistle travels a lot further than your own voice. Last but not least, something nobody ever thinks about is some toilet paper or some white gold. You never have it when you need it, so I always make sure I pack that first. Together with that is some mosquito repellent. It is summertime, so I don't feel like being charred the whole night. Yeah. When it comes to safety equipment and first aid, I generally don't carry a first aid kit on me. I'm an ex-paramedic and I have also done extensive wilderness first aid training. So things that I can use in emergency is things like my duct tape, my shamag. I can use it for wound padding or for padding a splint. I've got my tweezers on my multi-tool, got my needle on the back of my knife. So between those items, I can handle most emergencies. For clothing, I generally take a nice lightweight hoodie with me. When it gets a little bit chilly in the evenings, I take some spare socks, my shamag, and I generally tend to wear ex-military pants, absolutely bomb-proof, been designed for the bush, and I find they keep me quite warm. Also, these are a little bit longer, so they go past your boots, so you can tie them up to help protect you from blackjacks and from snake bites. I generally pack fresh food if I'm just doing an overnighter. If I'm going to be doing a multi-day, then I'll generally take dry goods like flour, lentils, rice, kind of food goods that can last a long time. What I'm taking with this weekend, everybody's favorite, some bacon. That'll be for breakfast tomorrow morning. Together with that bacon, I've got some cheese and some rolls. I've also got some cold ham to go together with those rolls in case I feel like a midday snack today. For dinner, I've got a nice healthy piece of chicken, which I'm putting together with some carrots and some mushrooms, doing what we call a pressure pack. So we cook everything in foil directly on the coals. Always bring along a selection of little spice bottles Nobody likes bland food when they're out there. We enjoy our food at home. We should enjoy our food in the bush as well. Lastly, I've got some filter coffee. I like to have a nice strong cup of coffee in the mornings. I'm going to be making a type of coffee that we call in South Africa mud coffee. What you want to do when you're packing your pack is always put soft stuff towards the back of the pack, so you're not having anything digging into your back while you're hiking. Then you can pack the other stuff on top of that. You also want to try and get most of your heavy equipment up at the top. Just makes it a little bit more comfortable, rides a little bit higher when you're hiking.
So it's a beautiful day and I'm just preparing to go camping. But today I will be going to a place that may require a little bit of trekking to get to the campsite. So today I'm going to use a backpack and I'm going to be packing light. And yeah, just showing you guys some of my gears. So I've got a 40-liter backpack over here. And for clothes, I usually, for a 2-day, 1-night camping trip, I would take 3 sets of clothes. And of course, a quick dry towel. And this is my toiletry bag, an extra pair of socks, emergency blanket, headlamp is essential, some lightings at night, and mosquito repellent patch. Some power banks, camera gears, and some fire starters, a cap. And this is just a book to fill up my free time at camp. Food stuff, basically. This is a bag of food, which is sufficient for a 2-day trip. So I've got my vegetables over here, I've got my coffee mug, I've got some of my ingredients for camp, coffee, and this is a bag of cutleries, which is really handy. Spoon and fork and knife and a pair of chopsticks. I'll see you at my car. So this is pretty much most of my camping gears. They are in my car at all times because it's really convenient as I often go car camping. So first of all, for any camping trip, Of course, shelter is important. And for my shelter this time, it is simple. I have a ground tent. This is a two-man automatic pop-up tent. And beneath the tent, I'm gonna need a waterproof ground sheet, which is heavy duty to protect the tent. And of course, above the tent, we are going to need a rain tarp to protect from the rain and also from the sun. So I've got this mat which I lay out in the tent. It is a waterproof mat, so it somehow helps out with reducing condensation. And over here, I have a self-inflating sleeping pad, and of course, a sleeping bag, an inflatable pillow, and then cut. Currently, it is the monsoon season in Malaysia, so it rains pretty often. So it's good to have a raincoat ready. And moving on to my cooking equipment, I have this stand for me to put my equipment on or my stove on. I've got this really light aluminum cooking pot, chopping board, knife, butane gas for cooking, stove. And of course, in a tropical climate, we can't escape from mosquitoes, especially when entering the rainforest. So I've got this spray-on mosquito repellent, and as a backup, a mosquito coil container as well. A pair of gloves. These are some of my tools. I've got a hammer to hammer my heavy-duty packs down when setting up camp, a bunch of ropes, and of course this is a machete for me to process some wood. And this is a portable barbecue stand, which can come really in handy. For emergency, definitely I have a simple first aid kit. This is something simple which I have customized myself. Usually I do a lot of car camping, and as I am in healthcare, I do have my work bag, which is essentially a giant first aid kit. So this is my work bag and it is always in my car. So I guess I'm pretty much covered at all times.
Okay, so this is the standard gear I typically take, minus a few items depending on the season or duration of my trip. I'm gonna start with the most important item, in my opinion, the most versatile, the axe. As the legend himself, Roland Wilker, says, you can do anything with the axe. The funny part is, I'm not gonna be taking the axe. So, the reason being is this trip I won't need it. It's gonna be much easier for me to just take my saw. This is all of my main gear, aside from a few sleeping equipment. Alright, so we're gonna go through the items one by one. So the first item, which is gonna be a replacement for my axe, is my main saw, the Silky Big Boy. It is absolutely amazing, cuts through wood like butter. The next is the Silky Gomboy, which is same brand, but it's a little bit smaller. This is easier for cutting smaller pieces of wood. Next would have to be my main belt knife. It's Boker 6-inch blade. Beautiful blade. Can do basically everything with this one. I do also like to have the Mora with me. So the Morakanov. This knife is extremely sharp. It cuts through everything. Like, in all honesty, it's, even though I've gotten the other knife sharpened, this one came factory, just the sharpest knife I've ever seen, and it's so cheap for how good it is, which is probably why it's the #1 rated knife on Amazon. But yeah, this knife is amazing as well. Standard ferro rod. I have a couple different ferro rods. This is just the one I have here right now, but super simple, straightforward. I'm not going to set a spark here, but yeah. Pocket bellows. So these are really useful to use for keeping a flame going or starting a fire at the very beginning. I do like to have a lighter as well. I don't go with the traditional like small lighter. This one might weigh a tiny bit more, but I find in great wind and just in general, like having the length also is super useful. Next, I do have my Leatherman as well. And again, like depending on the trip, like you might not need all of these. Like, I do like to just have all of my stuff with me. Next, this 650 lumen headlamp, super good. Now, this one, there is a downside to this type of headlamp because as you can see, it is USB charged only. So that is why I do carry a second headlamp with a bunch of batteries. Next is, so this is my main light source. It has two functions. So this is the super bright, and then it also has the more yellow light, which lasts a lot longer than the super bright LED white light. This is the more practical light. It's illuminate. You blow this up, and this one also has a few different light functions. This weighs nothing. It's fully waterproof. It's USB chargeable. And so like in terms of practicality, I don't think it gets better than this. So I guess next is water bottle. This is a standard Life straw bottle. So I don't have the straw in right now, but this is great just to have for most seasons in the winter. It is kind of useless because this will freeze. And also everything in here will freeze for the most part unless you keep it in your sleeping bag when you sleep. But in other seasons, I don't think there's a better water bottle. Maybe there is and I don't know about it. But when you're in a tricky spot, the Life straw will save your life. That's one part of my kit that I have to actually improve significantly because my emergency kit is lacking big time. Next, I do have this book. I guess this kind of makes up for it, which is, I just found this at like an antique store. I thought it was really cool. And it's basically just like a mini guide, first aid to the injured. And apparently this is a super famous book. I didn't know. My friend told me about it. But yeah, it has some cool diagrams and things like that. I haven't read that much of it, but I always do keep it in my pack in case I ever need it. Then I do have these work gloves. These are just helpful for non-winter activities. I mean, also for winter activities, but if you don't want to like hurt your hand or you need a better grip on something, these are really good. Duct tape, standard, I keep in my kit. So the reason I have Vaseline is for a few different reasons, but the primary reason is actually for fire. So I'll like, usually the main thing I do is I'll just take a cotton ball, which I'll have with me. I'll just dip it in here and legit just one spark and it'll catch and it'll keep going. So next I just have some extra paracord. Most of my paracord's in here, which I'll show in a sec, but I have some extra paracord and some zip ties in here. Just in case, you know, you need that extra easy tying, you have the zip ties. Here's my tarp. This is basically my roof, my shelter, my everything. Next is bear spray. Now, you don't always need this. However, I do usually just have it with me just in case because it can be used for all animals, not just bears. Next, sleeping stuff. So here I have Thermarest Neo Air. It's a R6.9, which is like one of the best ratings. Then I have my Thermarest Z Light. So this goes underneath everything, and this is I think R like 2 0.1 or something low, but this thing is honestly one of the most versatile pieces of gear that I have. It can be used for like so many different things in a canoe to support your knees. Just like if you want to sit down or lay down anywhere, it like you can just do that, you know, regardless of what's on the ground. And then of course for sleeping, it helps keep stuff not wet. And then my sleeping bag is a mech minus 30 degrees Celsius down Gore-Tex sleeping bag. So the reason why it's in this bag is because it's a better way to preserve the bag, so the down actually starts to lose its effectiveness the more clumped up it is. So whenever I'm not using it, I'll keep it in that bag, but it does come with the compression bag for it, of course, as well. And then so whenever like you go out on your trip, you'll put it in here, and then when you get back home, then you put it back in here. Next is the cooking stuff. Everything usually I put in here. So this is a waterproof dry bag. Tongs are really useful so you don't burn yourself. Spork, I prefer this over a fork and a spoon, obviously, as it's a multi-tool. Plus my best friend gifted this to me, so it has a lot of sentimental value as well. Shout out Pression. Yeah, it's just a standard plate. I won't always take this, but it's a super lightweight camping plate. This is an MSR frying pan, and I don't remember the dimensions, but yeah, this is one that you can just put straight on the fire. Cutting board, again, I don't always take this with me, but super lightweight, and it is useful to have. Here's my pot. I keep it in here. Sometimes it's also good to have just dangling off you to make noise for bears, so they hear you coming from away. But yeah, here's my pot. I think it's 1 liter pot. This is a portable stove, so if you can't make a fire for whatever reason, like a big one, or you don't want to make a big fire. All right, next we got clothing. This depends obviously on the time of year you're going to be going out. So for me, it's end of winter, spring just started, so I'm going to be gearing more towards the winter clothing. So this is the Osprey Rook 65 liter. I did a bunch of research, came to the conclusion that this was the most optimal for the type of trips I would go on. I'll usually pack it in the order of things that I will take out. So in this case, I know my sleeping clothes rather, is going to come last. So I'll put that at the bottom, and the neck gaiter. These little side pockets, and so I have one side of what I like to call the items that I'm going to most likely use. And then I like to remember which pocket is which. The bird represents like something saving me. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but I see the animal as like, you know, something to look over you, so I'll put my emergency stuff in here. Again, that doesn't make any sense, but it does to me, so yeah. Maybe that's not the most elegant looking, but for now, this is kind of what it'll look like. Plus this goes here. And then put the sleeping bag here, and voila. That is how I packed my bag.